Hey YouTube, welcome to the Comic Book Community 411, and tonight's special guest he's got many names: smallTown Collectibles, Jimmy the Don, Jimmy the Don Kerr. So the Don, welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you for asking me, man. I'm excited. I step away from YouTube for a little bit and I come back and you've got a comic book interview show called the 411. I love it. I appreciate you asking me on.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've done so many great interviews, so I figured it would be great to have you on and let you be interviewed. So
I love it. Yeah.
so why don't you start with just a little introduction, tell us about your channel.
Sure. Yeah. No, Jimmy Don Kerr, as Brian said, now I'm called the Don. My channel does have channel membership. We call it the Comic Book Mafia. Because I mean, my name, I'm from Eastern Kentucky, Brian, and I have one of those good Eastern Kentucky names. I got two first names. So everybody, if you know me, calls me Jimmy Don. If you know me, that's what you call me. And I've been called the Don most of my life. When I'd go to college, people would call me JD. They would call me Jimmy the Don. And it just kind of happened when I got on YouTube that people started calling me the Don as well. But my channel is comic book centric. I have an interview show, much like this. You've been on it, called 10 Questions. That's probably the flagship of my channel is the 10 Questions interview show. The other would be I do every new comic book day, or comes out on Tuesday before new comic book day. I do first appearances and key issues for new comic book day, and do some mystery box unboxings. And I've started a new segment I'm doing where it's kind of comic book investing, but it's taking characters and kind of breaking down their first appearances and key issues, and sharing that with the community. And it's something that I do myself already, kind of do the research, and I thought I would just record it and share it.
Oh, great. Yeah, I just watched this week the She-Hulk
Yeah.
episode, which was really good. Very, very informative.
So. Yeah, and I dropped one today, and it was kind of planned. The Black Adam trailer was dropping. And so I dropped one today with Black Adam. And I actually thought it turned out good. I did a lot of research for it, and I like to do a history lesson of sorts in the beginning and kind of lay out Black Adam all the way through, from his time that he started in the Golden Age up until now. And then I list all the books like I did in the She-Hulk. So I enjoy doing that. I don't know that a lot of people will watch it, but it's something I enjoy, and I'm doing anyway. And I thought, what the heck, I'll just record it and throw it on there.
I mean, I enjoyed the She-Hulk. It's always interesting to get the little history that maybe you don't know filled in. So those videos certainly entertain me, and they're videos that I like to watch. I've seen others, do similar with a little bit more history, maybe on publishing itself or some other characters. So yeah, it's definitely a something that I like to watch because it's an easy way for me to learn a little bit more about a character or the hobby, and I don't have to do the research myself. So
well, and it's as much for me. That's what it's about. Is so when I'm out hunting comics, like if I'm out digging in a back bin somewhere or at an antique shop or a flea market, when I see a book, I'll know what it is. Like I'll recognize it, and it's a good way for me to learn, what the keys are for these different characters.
Yeah, I'm always carrying my phone with some cheat sheets or being able to look things up. But yeah, it's having that, that knowledge just in your head, because sometimes you have to make a, quick decision on a book that you find. Yeah. So, all right. So let's get into the actual questions. And
sure.
I know, I'm pretty sure I know the story. I've heard you, tell it, but I always ask it, what's your origin story? How did you get into collecting, comic book collecting?
So it mainly started, I've been collecting my whole life. I had an uncle who sold at flea markets and was a collector himself. And I used to go to the flea market with him. It was my dad's brother. And him and my dad were really close. And my uncle was like a second dad to me. And Dad and I would go over and hang out at the flea market with my uncle. Or I would just go by myself. I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, right over there with him and hang out with him all day. And I was allowed to read anything that I wanted. I don't care what it was. I don't care what the price of it was, because I would handle the books carefully. Like I was really careful. So he would I read whatever I wanted. And so that's kind of where it started, was going with him, to the flea market, going with my dad. Like I said, my uncle, I always compare him. If you ever watch American Pickers, He is like Mike Wolf from American Pickers.
Okay.
That's who my uncle was. That's who he would put you in mind of. And I used to go ride around with him and my dad. They'd go pick through barns. We would go all over the place in Kentucky, Ohio, West Virginia. And he would go pick for stuff. And I used to go with him. So just through that, I kind of developed a passion for it. And then, being from a small town, we didn't have a LCS. We didn't have a comic book shop. We had the supermarket. That's what they call it, the grocery store.
Right.
And they would have a magazine stand, and on that magazine stand would be some comic books. And I used to, while my mom was shopping, because I am not a good shopper. My wife will tell you that if you take me to the mall, my entire personality changes the second I pull in the parking lot. I hate it. So mom would let me stand at the magazine rack, and I would get comic books and read them. And then she would generally let me pick one up. And that's where, because I like, one of my favorite characters is somebody that a lot of people I don't think is their favorite character, is Firestorm. And
Okay.
Firestorm, that love came from standing at that magazine rack in the supermarket, because they always had Firestorm for some reason. And the colors, the orange, the yellow, and then the fact that, he's a combined person, a physicist, I don't know. I loved it. And so I started reading Firestorm when I was a kid. And, that's basically how it all started, running around with my uncle and my dad, and my uncle just being cool, and letting me read or do whatever I wanted.
Right.
When it came to the books. And so I just developed a passion for it. And a lot of it, for me, Brian, a lot of it is nostalgia for those days where I got to hang out with my dad and my uncle, because it was some of the greatest times of my life. They were super cool to me. I had a great family growing up, and I just loved hanging out with them. And so that's as much of it as anything. It's just the nostalgia. It takes me back to hanging out with them. And they're both deceased now.
Okay. I was going to ask, because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Both of them passed away from cancer. My dad
wow.
going on like 11 years now. My uncle going on like 8. And, so a lot of it is, even getting back into it, a lot of it's because my kids were getting older and they didn't want to hang out with me anymore. I wasn't cool anymore. And I needed something to do. And so one day we went shopping, and I told my wife, we just happened to be in the town where my business is, where the office that I go to.
Okay.
And I said, they were shopping. I said, well, I'm going to drive up here to this comic book shop. I'd seen it one day while I was working out, driving around, and I ran in there, and it was like the heavens opened up, the light shined in, and music started playing, and I was like, okay, I'm home. And, that's been going on, 6 years now. And I've been into it hardcore ever since.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I like I said, I've heard you tell that story about your uncle before, but I wasn't, and that was one of the questions I wanted to ask was, is he still here? Or, are you still, but so
No,
I
he
can
passed.
see, yeah. I can see where
Yeah,
that,
he was so awesome. I mean, he really was. I mean, like, I guess everybody has their, a favorite uncle or whatever. He was just super cool to me. Like, I mean, literally, he wouldn't let his own kids touch his comic books like that.
right.
But I could. Well, and like, he sold a lot of ball cards and things like that. And he had this room. He built this massive garage, and it had a door to the outside that went to this particular room that he built back in the corner of the garage. And it was full of ball cards, full of toys, full of comic books. And I had a key. And
Wow.
I could go out there and hang out. I spent hours out there. And if he knew I was there, he would come hang out with me. And we would just sit and read, and we would talk about, sports or, the comic books. And he was incredibly knowledgeable. Like, he read all the time. And he was what my dad used to say. He's one of those guys that can take a nickel and make $15 out of it. And I've been told I'm a lot like that. I just do it with, mortgage securities and things like that.
Right. Different. Yeah.
It's different, but I have that in me because, where I'm from, Brian, it's coal mining country. And coal mines were always up and down, when I was growing up. And so he started doing the flea market thing on the side as a supplement to his income when the mines would shut down. And then it ended up being one of those things where he did so well with it that he started doing it full time. That's all he did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of before it was the in thing to do to be flipping, books and toys and collectibles. Yeah. Okay.
I'll tell you a quick story. It's just kind of tell you who he is. I don't know if I've told this or not. Maybe I have. But back during the ball card craze, I tell people, do you know what a card break is? Have you ever watched a card break?
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Okay. So one morning, I go get my hair cut in the town over, and that's where the flea market that he set up every weekend was at. And in order to get your hair cut on a Saturday morning, you would have to be there at 6 a.m. Okay, or else you would be there for hours because those old men would get in the barbershop and start talking, and you were never getting a haircut. You're going to be there for hours. So I go over one morning. It's snowing. I'm 16 years old. It's snowing. I drive by the flea market. My uncle's truck is sitting at the flea market. It's the only truck there. I go up. I get my haircut. Still takes about an hour, and I come back about 7 o'clock. And it's his truck and about 30 other vehicles. He is the only person in the flea market set up. The only one. Wow. Because it's snowing. I mean, it's like 10 degrees outside. So I walk up. I'm like, what are y'all doing? And those people that were there, he would crack open a box of basketball cards. And at that time, a box had 36 packs in it. And a case had 36 boxes. So they would buy these packs of cards. They would all open them. And whoever got the high dollar card out of all the cards that were open got everybody's cards.
Oh, wow.
He went through 3 cases while I was sitting there. He had the awfulest wad of money. He turned around, he said, look at this. He had the awfulest wad of money I've ever seen. But it was stuff like that he was always doing. It was always something like that. And that was who my uncle was. And he was just a hell of a lot of fun to hang around. He just really was.
That's really cool. Northeast, right? Flea markets, yard sales, those type of things basically, run from early spring to, late fall, wintertime. If there's snow on the ground, nobody's setting up a flea market or a yard sale. So,
he was the only person there. Like I said, it made a fortune, just sitting there. It was crazy. But that one always sticks out in my mind because I tell people he invented the card break before anybody knew what card breaks were.
Yeah, right. Yeah, now everybody's doing it on YouTube.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it's fun. I buy into them occasionally. I have a problem. I like to collect everything. And I still occasionally jump in a card break or two.
Yeah, there's definitely a number of collecting rabbit holes that you can go down. So,
yes,
I'm trying to stick to comics, but so far, so good.
Yeah, well, good.
So how did you make the leap to a YouTube channel from, getting back into collecting to then saying, all right, I'm going to video and put this up on YouTube?
So it's a pretty simple story. And I was sitting one morning, it was a Saturday morning, and we were having breakfast, me and my wife and my 2 daughters. And my girls were talking about YouTube and how they would like to have a YouTube channel and, do something. I said, we'll do it. And I said, I'm fairly tech savvy. I could probably figure out how to upload a video or at least set the channel up. I said, open, some of the clothes that you get or the makeup that you get and review it, do something. And they were like, no, we couldn't do that. Can't do that. And I'm like, well, why? Because I am a firm believer. Look, man, I come from a place that's very poor. It's very rural. And somehow I built a business here. And as my dad used to always tell me, good luck comes when hard work and opportunity meet up. And I am a firm believer in that. If you got the guts and you don't care to work hard, you can do anything that you want to do. I don't care where you are or what you're doing. You can do anything that you want to do. You got to have the guts to try and a work ethic to go after it. So, and I have tried to instill that into my girls, that you can literally do anything. You just have to work. So I was incredibly disappointed that they were like, no, we can't do that. And I said, yes, you can. And they were like, no, we can't. I said, I'll show you. Okay. So I started a YouTube channel and started doing, based around comic books. Because that's what I was into it. Like I said, I'd started collecting long before, or got back into it long before I started the YouTube channel. And I got into it. So I started opening mystery boxes. And I was doing comic books. I was doing boom boxes, Zobi boxes, just whatever I could get my hands on to open. I was doing that. And as it went on, I decided I really, the comic books is what I like. And so that's what I'm going to do. And what happened, Brian, was it started out to be something to try to prove a point to my daughters. And I found something, I've said this 1,000 times. I found something that I had no idea I was missing. And that's a community of people to geek out with and to talk to, because most people around here don't read. I'm a small business owner. Most people don't even know that I read comic books. And it was just fun. And I've made all these friendships. And so it has become almost like a hobby within the hobby, is doing YouTube content. And that's really how it started. I was trying to prove a point to my daughters and found my own passion in doing that.
Trying to teach them a lesson, right? And you stumble into something.
Yeah, and I stumbled into something, and at first it was like they were almost embarrassed by it, right? Like it was embarrassing. Like I don't know if they thought why they wouldn't do it is that it would be embarrassing. And now if they think it's cool, because their friends, like I'll show up, to pick one of them up, and their friends will show up saying, "Oh man, I watch your channel all the time. I love it. Will you take a picture with me?" And that's crazy. Right. So, so now they think it's pretty cool, and they still make fun of me a little bit. But that's how it all started. That's why I got into YouTube.
That's great. Have they gone back and started channels of their own?
No, they just, really, as far as the interest wasn't there. I think it was just one of those things that you talk about as an idea, but they also see how much work it is. It's a lot of work, if you get into it and really start trying to do something with it. It's a lot of work. I mean, it's a hustle, and, it's not just sitting down and recording a video. And sometimes it's that, but some of the videos that I put out takes a lot of research, first appearances and key issues. I'm working on that thing for months, just trying to figure out what's coming out, what's getting ready to come up, who were the first appearances, reading all the synopsises, in the preview magazines, and then I'm making notes, and that's something I sit down and do, most evenings. I'll sit down for at least an hour, and do some research. And then the same thing with the new content I'm putting out. It's I go down these rabbit holes, like with Black Adam. I went down this rabbit hole of, Black Adam's character and how he wasn't really used after the Golden Age up until the 90s, and why that was, and how his character changed. And they made him, instead of being a villain, he became an anti-hero, and how all that worked. And I don't know, like I said, it's a lot of work. Plus, like I said, sitting down, making the time to record the videos. And I think they see how much work it truly is.
And have they had any interest in coming on your channel?
They've talked about it. Like, we've been trying to work out something, especially my youngest daughter. My youngest daughter has the collecting gene. Now, it started out with mushmallows, is what they're called, where we would get these mushmallows and there would be exclusives come out, and we would go to like Walgreens or wherever they had them and try to find them. Now she is into vinyl. She loves music. They're like me. Both of my girls like music like I do. But my youngest daughter really likes music, and she likes old music. Like, it blows my mind, the stuff that she will play when we're in the car together. So she wanted a record player, and she didn't want like one of these new ones that you get at Walmart. She wanted me to find an old vintage record player. So I found one, bought it for her, gave it to her for Christmas. And then the records that she wants, she doesn't like the new stuff. She wants it to be dirty. She wants it to be have patina, so to speak. Right. And so we'll go to these antique shops and different things, and I'll be looking for comic books, and she looks for vinyl. And then we'll come home, and we'll come up to her room, and I'm usually looking through the comic books. She'll play the music, and we'll sit and talk about the music, and we kind of hang out. So she and I have talked about, but she's only 14, and there's some rules, as far as YouTube is concerned with the age. But she and I have talked about maybe recording some of our trips when we go to these antique stores and kind of, talking about the vinyl music and the different things we listen to.
Oh, that's great.
So, yeah, I think that would be cool. But it's ended up being something really cool for me and her to hang out.
Connection, a father-daughter, time together. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, because I always had trouble finding that with her for some reason. And my oldest daughter, I have to run with her a lot, just the way her schedule is. She's always with me. And so we're tight. We're really close. But she's very much like me, but different too. My youngest daughter has that collecting bug, and she likes doing that stuff, and she likes to go with me. So yeah, it's ended up being really cool.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I've asked my children to come on. They're a little older. They're all out of high school. My daughter graduated college, and I've asked them to come on the channel, even just to because they all like different aspects of superheroes and anime. My oldest daughter's more of a comic book fan. My daughter is the comic book fan. My son is more of a anime, Dragon Ball Z, and then my youngest son is more Star Wars, Pokemon.
Sure.
So they all kind of have, interest in it. And I've tried to bring them on. They're like, "No, Dad, we don't want any part of that."
No, well, Addison and I even talked about that's my youngest daughter. We even talked about me and some of her friends. Like there's some of her friends. Sorry, my doorbell just rang. My daughter's going somewhere to spend the night. So um, we've even talked about like her and some of her friends wanted to get together and like read a comic book. Like we would get a small trade paperback, just some story, read a comic book, and they wanted to get like chocolates from other countries. And
Okay.
we would taste test the chocolates on screen and discuss the comic book. And so we've talked about doing something like that. I've got two nephews that are into comic books. Like I literally bought them today, the new Marvel Fortnite Fortnite X
Right.
Marvel,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
so that they could get the code. I bought each of them a copy so that they could have the code and get the Spider-Man skin. Um, and so they've actually been on my channel. My nephews have because at the beginning I was opening some Funko Pops too, and I
Okay.
actually brought them on with me. But that was before I was monetized and all that. So now I have to look at it a little bit differently. But
Right.
I don't know. Addison and I may do something, but I think it'll revolve around our trips. When we go on the weekends, we just we'll go
Right.
out for 4 or 5 hours, eat breakfast, and then excuse me, then hit a couple of shops and see what we can find.
Go on the hunt. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now, what about a comic book character or a series that if you had the control that you could reboot or rewrite? Who? And I know you're a big DC guy,
I
so
am
who would you tackle?
Firestorm.
Firestorm.
Absolutely. Superman's my favorite character. Okay,
Yes.
like beyond a shadow of a doubt, I love Superman. People make fun of me for it, but I love him. But I relate to Clark Kent, I guess, more so than anybody. But there's in years, there's not been a good Firestorm story. I think he was in 52, and he's been, in books here and there. But I would love to see another good Firestorm story. And I think that would be the one that I would probably boot back up. Hawkman is my other. I love freaking Hawkman. I love Firestorm and Superman. Those are like my three favorites. And then I love of course, the Marvel characters, Spider-Man and the Hulk are probably my two favorite Marvel characters. But DC is growing up, we literally had three channels. And Saturday morning cartoons, you would get Super Friends and that kind of thing. So it was always DC oriented.
Right. Right.
And if it was Marvel, it would be Spider-Man or the
Right.
Hulk. So I grew up on the DC, but no, Firestorm 100%, because there's no good Firestorm stories out there, not recently anyway.
Right. Yeah, and that's the interesting thing about the two big publishers is they have so many characters that they don't really use that all. That there's such a library of characters that there are tons that you could pick from to try to do something with that don't have their own series. So yeah, that's Firestorm. That's a good one.
Yeah, Hawkman had one in New 52, was his, and then there was another Hawkman series after that. Like there's been multiple Hawkman series recently. So yeah, Firestorm is one that comes to mind because I'm jonesing for something to read that's Firestorm.
Right.
So
Right.
that's something I haven't already read.
Well, and I think it would be interesting if the publishers, everybody got a little crazy when they just recently rebooted Spider-Man again, a new number one. And I think it's tough when there's those legacy characters that have had a long history, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. But like somebody like Firestorm, if they could do a very good limited run, a 6-issue, 12-issue run, where they're not doing this ongoing series,
Right.
that would be, the way I think that, the publishers could, recognize some of these other characters that are not the big, the big guys, but are still very good characters. So
Sure. Yeah. No, absolutely. I agree 100%.
now, what about what the comic book community, on YouTube or collecting? What is one thing that you don't care for?
Um, I really like it all. I mean, there's not a ton, like, but you have to understand me. I'm one of those people that likes everything. Okay. Like, if it, if it entertains me or takes my mind away, because my life is pretty stressful. I work a lot. I'm self-employed. I work a lot. Just point
Right,
blank. I just
right.
work
So
all the
yeah,
time.
self-employed people generally do, right?
So if it's something, if I'm sitting at the office and I need a break, I just need to not think about what we're doing for the day. I might grab a comic book and read one real quick. And if it will take me away from that for just a few minutes,
Right.
then I'm going to like it. Same thing with movies. Like, I think people in the comic book community can be hypercritical about things, and that's okay. That's their right to be that way. But that's, if I had anything at all, it's just the hypercriticism at times, of different characters or TV shows or whatever it may be. But overall, man, I pretty much like everybody. I think everybody has a right to their own opinion, and you can say what you want. It's not going to offend me in any way, and I'm probably going to read it and listen to it. But I'm not a big negative guy. I don't like a lot of negativity. There's just plenty of that out there. I try to keep pretty positive for the most part.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's one of the things I think that I've noticed, when obviously like premiere of new series like She-Hulk, there was a lot of, talk about the special effects, the CGI. And I look at it as I'm going to be able to watch a series that I've never seen before and be entertained, and like you said, take yourself away from the stresses of your work or the everyday life and get some entertainment and enjoyment out of it. Yeah, okay, maybe the special effects aren't, top notch, but I still find enjoyment or entertainment in those. Like some of the recent series, Hawkeye, even Boba Fett. There was a lot of people that were critical of the Boba Fett series on
I
Disney.
liked it.
I did too. I did
I
too.
liked it. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, the comic book wise, the Spider-Man run, the Nick Spencer Spider-Man run, wasn't great. Like, I didn't think it was great, but at the same time, I read every issue. I enjoyed every issue. Some were fillers, just like comic books are. But that's what I'm saying. I don't take everything real serious. It's entertainment for me.
Right.
And if it can break that monotony or that day up just a little bit and entertain me for a few minutes, that's why I dig it. Because a lot of, like, my brother-in-law, he thinks it's funny. That's my sister's husband, that I'm into comic books. He's like, because I am very serious outside of what I do here. This is me, but there's also another me that on a day to day, when I'm running my business and doing the things that I got to do, I'm incredibly serious and hyper focused on what I do. And he is the one that said that. He was like, man, I know why you like it, because it takes you away from that for just a little bit and, keeps you sane. And that's really what it does for me. It just kind of, centers me out. And if I'm having a bad day, I'll read a comic book. Right now, if you go to my office, in my desk, there's a stack of probably 10 books. And I usually I read about 4 comic books a day.
Okay.
And I generally read 1 or 2 at work. And if I take a quick break, that's generally what I do. And then when I
That's
come
good.
home at night, before I go to bed, I generally sit down and read a couple. I picked up an omnibus today. I didn't realize it was so much, but it's Jack Kirby's Fourth World.
Okay.
It's like Mr. Miracle. It's all from the 70s. Mr. Miracle, New Gods, Forever People, Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. It's that whole fourth world that Kirby created when he came to DC. And I've been collecting the individual books. And then I came across this omnibus today and was able to negotiate basically half price for it. And so I bought it. But it is that thick. I mean, it's huge. And so I'll probably crack it open tonight and start reading through it.
Nice. Yeah, usually, if I'm at work and I don't bring comic books to work, but if I'm stressed, I'll go take a walk. I'll go walk outside and just take a lap, take 10, 15 minutes, just like you said, to break it up.
Yep.
So
And
yeah,
then comic books do that for me. And like I
yeah,
said, my secretary, if you've been around me at all, thinks I'm an insane person, because she's been with me for 25 years. I don't know. She runs my entire life. But, I want to be on YouTube. Like, I want to jump on these lives. And I just don't have time to do that. Like, I want to jump on Mark's channel, Legion of Comics,
right,
on
on Fridays.
on
Yeah, yeah.
Fridays. I want to jump on Banter, on Chip's channel on Saturday nights. My life just doesn't allow that. And I want to, and I talk about it a lot with her, and she thinks I'm stupid. So she's like, "You need
Yeah,
to grow up. You got a company to run." I'm like, "I know, but I mean, I'm 46. I want to be a
yeah,
kid again."
got to have some fun.
Yeah. So she's learned to deal with it. But
Well, that's going to take me into the next question. I know you kind of stepped away recently from YouTube for a little bit, and
yeah.
you were running for an elected position.
Mm-hmm.
So, why don't you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So let me give you a little background on this. The town I live in, it's smallTown Collectibles is 600 people. The county itself probably has 10,000 people, and I am the chairman of the board for the water district here.
Okay.
And when I took over, I mean, our water district has been on national news. Like, it was really bad. It wasn't quite Flint, Michigan. It wasn't poisoning people necessarily, but people would say that it potentially caused cancer, or there was something wrong with our water.
Oh, wow.
And then financially, it was mismanaged. And I got asked to be on that board, and I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. But the guy that was the chairman at the time said, look, man, I need you to come in for 6 months, do what you do, and then you resign. And I was like, well, okay, I can do that. So I go in. This thing's losing $100,000 a month, real money.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's just insane. It's the most mismanaged thing I've ever seen in my life. And it's sad that was our water district. It's our water source.
Right.
So I go in about 6 months. I get that cut down to about 30 grand a month. I couldn't do anything else. At some point, it just cost what it cost to operate. Well, in that time, the chairman got kicked off the board by the Public Service Commission, which is who governs utilities in the state of Kentucky. So I end up becoming the chairman and the face of this water system. I've been on every TV station coming and going. I've been on CNN. I've been on NPR. I have been, what's the one over in Britain? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Oh,
But
yeah, I know what you mean. I'm drawing a blank.
yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, I basically got in there and I was told, you cannot fix this. It is broke. You will not be able to fix it. Well, 5 years later, I did. Okay, it is financially sound now. It runs like a utility is supposed to run, and we still have a lot of work to do. Because nobody managed this water system. Didn't keep up with the infrastructure. They just did not do anything that they were supposed to do. So we still got a lot of work ahead of us. But all that past 5 years sparked a fire in me to give back to my community. Now, my mortgage company is called My Hometown Mortgage. Okay. And I named my mortgage company that because it was my hometown that made me successful. They all did business with me, and I was a kid, and they would do business with me, and they created the foundation for what I've built today. So I named it when I opened it My Hometown Mortgage. But I guess I had this thing in me that I've taken a lot, right? Like, I've done, business for these people. I've helped these people out, but at the same time, I made money every time I did
Sure.
it. So my experience with the water system led me to, I want to serve my community more. And there was a position, I am qualified. I was asked to run for judge, which is like the CEO of the county, like the county judge executive. It's not like a criminal law judge or anything. It's just
Right.
they call it judge. It's the person that's like the CEO. And I considered that. And, I just decided I didn't have enough time to really do it. But I thought, well, there's this magistrate position for our district, and I could do that. I have time. I could do that because it's kind of a part-time gig. You're not, there's not a whole lot of time commitment to it.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, I'll try that out. And so I ran for office and I tried. And really what had me stop YouTube was one morning I filmed first appearances and key issues. All right. And I was so busy, I was out campaigning every night. I got up at like 5 o'clock in the morning and recorded first appearances and key issues. And I tried it different with my iPhone than I normally record. And I filmed it in the cinematic version.
Oh, okay. Right.
Well, that video is 18 to 20 minutes long most of the time. And I am inputting editing. I'm putting a lot of pictures in, pictures of the comic books, the whole thing. I got up, I recorded the video. I had edited the whole thing except for the outro. And iMovie locked up.
Oh.
And I was like, son of a gun. And I couldn't get it back. I was going to have to re-edit the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, dude, I just don't have time, and that was the thing. Like, okay, I have to take a break. I've got to go away from this for just a little bit and try to win this election. And so basically for 2 months, I would get up I get up at 4 o'clock every day. I didn't get home till 10 or 11 o'clock, pretty much any night of the week. And I campaigned really hard. I ended up losing. I didn't win. I lost by 5 votes. I finished third by 5 votes.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but you're talking, there were 8 people running. And I think the guy that won got like 100 and some votes, like 102 votes, something like that. And then I came in third. And I was really pleased with that. Like, I was really happy. I was disappointed I didn't win because I campaigned really hard. But it didn't discourage me, I guess is the word I'm looking for. I wasn't discouraged. I will probably try it again. I will approach it a bit differently when I do it again. I learned a lot, but I really enjoyed it. And I saw a lot wrong out there that I know I can help with. I have a unique set of skills and what I can do financially and the way that I can read financial sheets. And, I can't fix your car.
Right.
I can barely cut grass, but you put a bunch of numbers in front of me,
Right.
and it just all makes sense to me.
Right.
And so I'm good at stuff like that. So I think I bring a skill set, and our community could use that. And so that's why I did it. Was I wanted to help, and I thought I could help. Unfortunately, I didn't win. The guy that won is a good man. I've already sat down with him and kind of told him some of the things I was looking to do, and I'm going to try to help him the best I can, because at the end of the day, I just want what's best for my hometown, and that's why. And I want to be a good example of my kids. I try to tell them all the time, look, you can sit around and complain about stuff. Instead of complaining about it, try to go do something about it.
Right.
And that's what I know. That's corny as hell, but it's how I feel. I'm incredibly corny. But that's how I felt. And so I tried to go do something about it, and I tried to win. I didn't. And I'm going to keep running the water district, to see that through, and, keep, as far as chairman of the board, keep doing that and see that through the rest of the way. And then next time the election cycle rolls around, I might do it again. So.
Well, that sounds like a very good showing, for your first time running.
Yeah.
Finishing third with very close vote. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was really pleased. Like, my wife and my kids were more upset than I was. Like, I knew it was an outside shot, because when you're a first-time candidate, it's very difficult, especially in a small community like this. And I don't have a big family here, and I don't have a big church family in my district. My church family is in a whole other district. And so there were so many people running that split the vote up so bad that if 2 other people hadn't ran, I would have probably won by 100 votes. Like, I probably would have won. Right. And it's just, it didn't work out for me that way. A lot of, people in small towns, I don't know, who watching, if they're involved in politics at all, but in small towns, it's a lot about who your family is and who you go to church with.
Right. Yeah. Who do you know? Who has family? Yeah. History. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had to do a lot of things with the water district that weren't popular to fix it, because that's the reason it was in such bad shape anyway. I ran it like it was a business. It made some people mad. But they're starting to see the benefit of what I did now, because it's in all intents and purposes, it's fixed. And we don't have the issues that we used to have. It just took somebody that had the nerve to make the really, really hard decisions and not care if people got mad, and that's what I did. But like I said, it sparked something in me to want to serve even more. Right. And honestly, and the truth be told, I will at some point sell my businesses. Probably in another 10 years, get these girls through school. I have 2 businesses, mortgage company, and then I own a real estate investment company. Okay. And I will eventually sell both of those, but I can't sit still. And unless I'm making, unless I'm making a living through YouTube, I will most likely. I thought I might want to run for state senate.
Oh wow, okay.
Because I've made a lot of inroads with the water district. I've made a lot of inroads with people, and the Republican Party here has, or at least in the government level, the high state level, has been talking to me about getting me ready to run at some point.
Oh wow.
So that's something that I may consider down the road if my wife will let me. so we'll see what happens.
So YouTube or state senate? Yeah, that's kind of.
I'll be honest with you. I'd rather do the YouTube thing, but I don't know
easier.
I don't know how that's going to work out for me long term. So we'll see.
That's great. That's a great story. I mean, and you think when I think of like a utility or a county or a community infrastructure, right? It starts with a budget. You have to unless you have a balanced budget, you're not going to be successful.
No, because I had to increase rates. Like our water rates hadn't been increased in 20 years. We probably had some of the cheapest water rates in the state. Now we're the third highest. But we had to be, because that's what it takes to actually maintain the system.
Right.
And it should have been done like that gradually over a period of time, and it wasn't. And so I had to come in and do it, and like I said, it made a lot of people mad.
Sure.
I took a lot of abuse for a while. Like I couldn't go to a ball game locally. I couldn't go to the post office. I'd get jumped onto. Wow. I was in the newspaper all the time. I was getting crushed in the newspaper constantly, Facebook, whatever. Right. It's just I'm too arrogant to care. I know that's awful to say, but like at some point I know who I am, and I knew what I was having to do.
Right.
And I knew that if I could get through it, that I would ultimately be able to fix it. And we have. And the tide has turned on that.
Right.
Several years ago. We're doing well now. So
that's great. That's great. And
that's a long-winded answer to why I ran.
But there certainly is something. I've done some volunteer work within my school district and things like that, committees to try to help shape it. And there is a certain aspect to it that's rewarding, because you're potentially impacting community, families, kids within your district, and in a positive way. So it's definitely, it could be you got to drag yourself to meetings and sit through listening to others sometimes that are some things maybe that are not so pleasant, but the end goal of fixing things is definitely rewarding. So,
well, I knew if I could survive the initial onslaught and attacks, I knew if I could survive that once it's tangible, it's measurable, and you would be able to see, with your own eyes, the difference. And that's what's occurred, and right. I just knew I needed to survive the early onslaught. And if I could survive that, then I could fix it, because it wasn't unfixable. When I looked at it, I was like, it's not unfixable. It just needs to be managed. And so that's what we started doing. And like I said, it's probably been the hardest thing, Brian, I've ever done in my life, like truly hardest thing I've ever done. But it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done. And I don't make a dime. I don't get paid to do it.
It's volunteer, right?
It's complete volunteer. I don't get paid. My wife thinks I'm insane. But, for the abuse that we've taken, right. Early on.
Right.
But like I said, now it's not such a big deal. So.
Right. Because the people see they
see the difference, and they say, okay. And like I said, at some point we'll meet in the middle, and rates will come back down, and we'll have a perfectly good water system. So
right, that's great. I'm glad I asked that question.
Well, I'm glad you did too. A lot of people are like, "Aren't you embarrassed that you got beaten?" No, I'm not. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I learned a lot. Like I learned a lot, by being out there campaigning. And if I ran again, I won't get beat, because I'll know what to do.
Right. It's certainly a learning experience, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It was, I don't know. My dad was a magistrate at one time. My dad held that position for a while when I was a young man in high school. And I was following in his footsteps in some way. And some of the community service aspect of it comes from him and, how he was and served the community. But, like I said, it really did. The water district thing sparked something in me. As far as wanting to really help. And so, like I said, that I took a shot. I didn't win, but I will tell you this, Brian, it made me miss you too. And it really did. Like, it made me miss YouTube, and I miss talking to everybody. I
Right.
miss jumping on like an interview like this. I miss doing 10 questions. First 10 questions interview I did out of the gate was Como Comic Books. And when we got done, I was like, thank God. I needed this. Like, it was fun just to sit and BS about comic books. So I'm glad I'm back, man. I said I hated that I had to take off because I had a lot of momentum. I was kind of rolling there.
Right.
And it stopped that in its tracks. So I've got to kind of rebuild that. But there's a lot of stuff I'll have coming out, and like I said, we'll keep rolling. I enjoy the YouTube thing, and I definitely missed everybody.
Well, it's good to have you back. And the good thing is, your body of work on YouTube is there, right? And still people can find it, even if you're not making new videos, regularly when you have stuff going on. But it's good to have you back.
I'm glad to be back, man. Like I said, it feels good to be back. So I'm glad I'm back.
And there's that instant connection with the community, right? When I got in, it was like, wow, here's a bunch of people that have a similar interest, and there was that instant connection. It's like walking into a bar when you don't know anybody, but then you strike up a conversation and you realize, oh, I have something in common with somebody, and is that like instant connection. And I see it throughout the community, and even the larger collecting community, comic books, but cards and pop figures and action toys. There's a lot of similarity between the different collecting rabbit holes.
Oh, it's my favorite part. I say it all the time. If the world behaved like the comic book community did, it would be a much better place.
Oh yeah,
it's very welcoming. It doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, black, white, Hispanic, Australian. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Everybody just gets along, and I'm all for that. Everybody gets along. Everybody lives their lives. Nobody's being judged for anything. Just get on and hang out and geek out with each other.
Yeah.
And that's fun, man. Like I said, Brian really did. It filled a hole in me. I had no idea that needed filled. And it just, as far as my joy and my happiness, just increased 50-fold when I found the YouTube community as I got into it. And when I was gone, I could tell, like I could feel it. And it wasn't, I was working, I was doing my thing, I was campaigning, I was doing what I know, what I do. But just this connection, just to get to sit down and talk to you for an hour or whatever, it's fun, man. I love you. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's cool to sit down and chat. I missed it. I really did.
Yeah. I'm, balancing making videos for my own channel and then trying to watch as much content as I can on other channels, because it's fun and entertaining.
I would drive around and campaign. When I was out campaigning, I had YouTube on. I would have a playlist, and I would have YouTube on, listening to everybody's stuff. And I wasn't getting to watch, and I wasn't commenting, but I made sure they got that watch time for me, and I made sure that I was supporting their channels, and that's what it's all about, because people are doing that for me too.
Right.
And, and I don't know, man, it's just fun. Like I said, it's a great community to be a part of. I'm glad I found it.
Well, we're glad you're back. I'm glad you're here. So my last question is going to be a random question. So I'm going to ask you, I have a random list of questions, 1 through 50. So just pick a number, and wherever we land, that'll be the question I ask.
Let's go Michael Jordan, number 23.
23. Well, I think we already answered this, but
well, it's okay. Then go number 3.
3.
3 is my favorite number.
23 was what have you done to overcome personal setbacks? And I think we've kind of talked similar about that with your your volunteer work. All right, so 3. 3 is, so when you were young, when you were a kid, what did you want to do? What did you want to grow up to be?
Rock star. And I wanted to be Superman. Like, no joke. My mom was concerned, like had a legitimate concern, because I believed that if I could get on the roof and jump off, I could fly.
Oh, wow.
And so they watched me like a hawk, because I ran around with a cape tied around my neck all the time. And I would say it all the time. If I could get on that roof and jump off, I could fly. And like she still tells me that. She said, I was so worried that you would get up there and try to jump off, because I believed it. I believed that I could be Superman. Also, like I said, and I know these are kind of, like stupid answers, but really rock star too. I love music. I've always loved music. As growing up in church and the singing, to bluegrass, my uncles, especially my great uncles, my grandmother's brothers, all played like banjos and pick guitar, and we would sit under my grandmother's carport, and they would pick music. So I would love bluegrass and things like that. And I always thought I would like to be a bluegrass singer. I cannot play a guitar. I did not get that. I cannot do it. I can dance. I got rhythm, but I cannot play a guitar. I've tried 1,000 times over, but I used to love that. But I mean, I think as far as really man, I just didn't really think about it a whole lot when I was growing up. I had a great childhood. I really did. I had 2 really good parents, and I was allowed to just dream. And when it got serious, I knew what the time was. When it got serious, Dad made sure I knew. And then the financial world always kind of made sense to me. And so as I was going through, college, I thought I would be a pharmacist, right? So I thought I was going to be a pharmacist. And then I got a job at a pharmacy, and I hated it. It was so boring to me. And so I was taking some business classes too. Like, I have this crazy degree. I have a double major in economics and finance, and I have a minor in chemistry because I took enough classes to have that minor. And then I have an MBA. So as far as once I took the business classes and especially the finance classes, it really kind of clicked for me. And I got a job working at our local bank when I was 16. And I was a teller, for a long time. And I worked through the departments, and then I found the mortgage department. And it just works for me. I dig it. And so that's what I do. And then I have a real estate investment company where we buy properties, and we have a lot of apartment buildings, and we buy and flip houses. We do stuff like, I don't do any of it. I
Right.
checks, but we do a lot of that stuff too. And so, as I kind of grew up and, figured out what I wanted to just kind of fit, where I worked at the bank, I had a comfortable, and it gave me the opportunity to come back home because I'm a mama's boy and I miss my mom. And I tell people, I wish I had a better answer. They're like, how'd you end up back here? I miss my mom. And so I got back here, and then I found a niche with government lending. Nobody was doing government lending here. And my mentor was like, hey, I told him this. I was like, hey, nobody's doing this. We can make a fortune doing this. He said, well, figure out how to do it. So I did. I figured out how to do it. And eventually, I was working in a bank at the time. I picked up what I had built in the bank. I picked it up and moved it out and opened my own shop. And been doing that ever since. So
that's great.
Well,
so
I know that's the kind of answer you want for a comic book type show. But yeah, that's
like I said, it's really, and I mentioned it to you when we were talking before we started recording, was, your interview, your 10 question show was really something that I really enjoy watching because, and I don't even watch it. I probably listen to it more, have it playing in the background on my phone or my iPad when I'm doing stuff around the house. Because I just get to know the person you're sitting with, that you're interviewing. And, it's just another way to make that connection in the community with people. And so
it is, man. I said, I've gotten to know so many people in the community on a one-on-one basis. People that I talked to today, and I've had some big guests on my show. The 75th episode next week. The one drops tomorrow. Geek Out with Roscoe was number 74. The 75th episode is coming up next week. You want me to tell you who it is? When do you drop this?
This is probably going to air after that.
Okay. So my next guest you guys will get to see will be the Golden Age Guru, the one that's on Comic Tom's channel.
Okay.
Guru's coming on. He's going to be the 75th episode. He and I have talked already, and we got a pretty cool show planned. So,
that's great.
But I've had the ability, man, and then go to a con and then get to meet these people. Like, we go to C2E2, right? I've sat and talked to you. DJ Links is one of my best friends, right? DJ and I text. We've talked on the phone multiple times. Right. Tyler from Whack Comics. Rob Fatstacks, who I love Rob. Taylor Winder. Wink. Wink Inc.,
Oh yeah,
JPG from that Spider-Man booth, the Comic Vet. And I know I'm leaving people out. I was trying to think who else was there. Nick's Kicks and Comics,
oh
who
yeah,
I love. One of my favorite people in the world. I love
right.
Nick's Kicks and Comics. To actually get to go, I talk to these people virtually on a screen, and then you show up someplace, and Remy Q, it's like Cupo Comics. Like I could go on and on.
Right.
Chip Getler, and to get to actually show up and meet these people in person, and then it's just as easy. It's just like, yeah, we hadn't talked in a little bit, and we get together and we all hug and hang out and have a big time, dude. It was just a blast. Like I said, I've enjoyed this so much.
And there's a big so Heroes Con is this end of this month in Charlotte, and there's a big group of the community going. I was going to try to make it, I couldn't, but I've met a few. So we have family down in South Carolina, and Tylux the Mighty, Southpaw Brad, a few of the. So I've gotten together with them a few times, and it's that we see each other, we watch each other's channels, we know each other from YouTube, and then you have that you meet in person, and it's like an instant connection.
It's instant, man.
You're hanging out, you're talking, you're grabbing lunch. It's amazing. And I saw that when you guys went to C2E2 last year, and just all the Instagram pictures and the videos. You guys just it's that instant connection.
Well, I think me and Lynx and the Pressable Defects and Very Gary are all going to meet at Terrificon.
I'll be there.
You're going to be there? Sweet. So
there.
we're all planning on going to Terrificon. When I interviewed the Pressable Defects, I've done some great interviews, but I've never hit it off as well, just like instantly, with 3 different people who were completely different people, but I hit it off with each one of them. And they're like, dude, you've got to come to Terrificon. We have to hang out. And I was like, all right, cool. So I think Lynx is going to meet me there. And I think we're going to go up there and hang out. So, yeah, man, that'd be awesome. I'd love to meet you.
Yeah, definitely going to be there. Because, I mean, that's, it's a little, like an hour and a half drive for where I live. So definitely.
Sweet.
Definitely
yeah, no, and that's like at the casino, Mohegan Sun Casino.
Mohegan Sun, yep. It's up in Connecticut, yep.
And so, yeah, I'm thinking of, I like to road trip. I like to drive. I don't mind flying. I don't care a bit to fly. But when we went to C2E2, me and never could figure it out. Jason, he lives like 10 minutes from me. And he and I, we drove it because I like to road trip.
Right.
I like to see different places. I like to stop. I like to, get out and hang out. I like to make an event of everywhere I go. And so I think I have never driven up north like that before. I've always flown. Because I come to New York quite often, and I always fly there when I go. So I think I'm going to drive up to Connecticut.
All right. Leave yourself some extra time because you might hit some traffic.
I'm sure I will. That's okay. I'll watch YouTube.
Well, that's it. You survived. You answered all of my questions. So I appreciate you coming on. So before we officially wrap up, what do you, and we've talked a little bit about it, but what do you have coming up on your channel that you want to mention?
So just the normal stuff. Like I said, Mondays was always Mystery Box Monday, but I'm probably going to mix in, I'll do some mystery boxes still, but I'm going to mix in these character spotlights, that I've started with the She-Hulk, now Black Adam. I still have one more She-Hulk to drop, but where Black Adam came out, the trailer dropped today when we're doing this. I wanted to get that one out. And then I'm working on Miss Marvel because that one's coming out. I've got an Obi-Wan Kenobi recorded.
Oh, I'd be interested in that one.
Yeah, I've got that one recorded. That'll drop here shortly. And then every Tuesday is first appearances and key issues. That's probably the most watched video on my channel, where I basically highlight, all the first appearances. I kind of point out the covers that I like for that week. Maybe not the ones that everybody else likes, but the ones that I like. And then the key issues. Generally, those are the number ones, or if there's something big happening, like Oblivion Song, just the final issue dropped today for that. Like I point that stuff out.
Right.
Yeah. Wednesdays.
You've affected my purchase at the LCS by watching that.
They actually play that in my LCS. They actually play first appearances and key issues in my LCS. So when I went in today, it was playing. And then 10 Questions is every Thursday. So every Thursday at 7 a.m., a new episode of 10 Questions drops. And then I'm actually kicking around the idea right now, Brian. For the people who watch this, I do have a channel membership. It's called the Comic Book Mafia. I'm the Don, as we stated earlier, so that's where all that came from. But I'm really kicking around the idea of doing a book club and do it with the members of the channel, because I read a lot. Okay, so I read a lot of stuff, but and it's usually new comic book day stuff. But I thought it might be fun. Now, me and Chip Getler, and I haven't talked to Rob yet. I'm getting ready to hit Rob up. So, Rob, if you watch this and I haven't called you yet, this is what I'll be calling about. For whatever reason, I was watching Obi-Wan, and anything with Darth Vader in it sold. All right, like I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, especially the original series, the original trilogy, and pretty much anything that Darth Vader's in. So I decided that I wanted to read all the Star Wars books. Oh, wow. And there's about 175 of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of books.
Yeah. So I think me and Chip and hopefully Rob will join in. And you, Brian, if there's something that you want to do. I've ordered I want to start with these Legends books. It's the Old Republic, and that's the earliest thing in the timeline. Okay. And I'm going to read those. I think we're going to read those, and we'll probably record something just talking about that. But the actual book club itself would be, say there was a story that you always wanted to read but never did. Like Jack Kirby's Fourth World, like I was talking earlier, right. Purchased that omnibus. I've got a lot of the singles and I've read a lot of the books, but I want to read it and then discuss. And so say you had never read Kingdom Come and you were like, man, I want to read Kingdom Come. So we'd all get it, read it, and then we would get on and discuss it, kind of like a book club. I don't even know if I would air it. It would just be us chatting about books, right. Get to nerd out a little bit. So that may be something that, coming up down the road. Okay. But for the most part, it's pretty consistent. I stay pretty consistent with my content, as far as putting out what I put out. And you'll see a few new things added in. There'll be some spec stuff coming in that I've been working on. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it. Come over, check us out, sub up. If you like it, great. I'd appreciate the sub and the watch hours and all that good stuff. And if you want to become a member of the Comic Book Mafia, you can do that too. So,
yep. So links will be down below in the description for, Jimmy's channel and for Instagram. So definitely go, if you don't know him, please go give him a sub, check him out. So, but the Don, thank you very much for coming.
I hope I didn't talk too much. You can tell that I interview people, and I've just been letting it rip.
Like I said, I'm doing this show more for me so that I get to know community members a little bit better. And so I hope people watch it and find it interesting. I know I do when I watch your interview show or Gary B's, In the Hot Seat is one of the shows that I really enjoy watching. But if people watch it, that's great. But if not, at least I'm connecting with and learning a little bit more about, great community members. So
cool, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on. I've had a blast.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for coming in, for coming on. Like I said, links down below. Please go check out Jimmy's channel, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Peace.